Alrighty, here it is. I believe the 28th. Yeah, 25th was Saturday, Christmas Day. So 26, 27, 28 would be Sunday, Monday. Oops. I think Christmas Day was Sunday. I'm confused now. So we got a huge melting going on in the back here. I worry about it when it gets warm like this. It doesn't typically get warm like this, but it has enough so that I know that when it does, we have issues like this. And this is just compacted snow. There's probably 4 or 5 inches of snow underneath the wheels here. Maybe not that much. Just compacted and turned into slush. So, may not be able to park back up there today. I don't, unless that freezes. It's pretty miserable. This snow started yesterday, and I filmed that. It was snowing. It was snowing a tiny bit up on Rabbit Ears Pass. It was actually getting down into the town of Steamboat. It was snowing quite a bit more, and it was this way all the way to Craig and wet. We're right on the edge of freezing, and it's an incredibly miserable time. To try to get around, but the motor grader operators are taking advantage of this, trying to cut the big ice down, because when this ice starts building, it becomes, I mean, this land becomes what it is, which is a quite unforgiving, wintry mess. Today definitely will be a mess. Now, the majority of the really crappy roads that I'm going to be on today are right here in town. They're just the side streets that they've been plowed, or they've been plowed, but they haven't been plowed down to the blacktop. They just push the snow out of the way and the snow builds up. So it's going to be a messy, sloppy day. And it really depends on what the temperature does. If the temperature goes up a little bit, then this stuff might melt, which would be great. It'd be really nice to have it melt. And the maintainer guys are taking advantage of that right now. But as far as the main streets, the highways, they're going to be a lot less sloppy, but they could also freeze up too. You can sort of see on the edges where the snow is sticking. So they're trying to freeze up. Really, I don't know what I'd prefer. I think today I'd prefer it not freezing up, but I'm more used to it when it just freezes up. That way you're not tempted to drive as fast Well, you know, but this is a warm front. We get warm fronts from we get warm fronts from the Pacific. We get our cold fronts from the Pacific too, but we get a healthy dose of Arctic air with them. I remember one year, it was like in 1985, I think it was, and it was after December, I think it was January or February, and I had a back injury at the time and wasn't moving around real good. And my dad drove me down to Grand Junction. Or was it Glenwood? I think it was Glenwood. Anyway, I think it was Glenwood. So 90 miles south of here. And we had one of those, I think the old timers would call them Pineapple Express. These warm storms. And it started on us when we were coming back. And it snowed like hell, but it was a warm snow. It really piled up. You could smell the tropical. It was really cool, you know. It smelled like the Hawaiian Islands, you know. It had that nice smell. And so, you know, it was imported from, and it was interesting how that air mass and the moisture were able to stay cohesive enough that they brought the smell of the middle of the Pacific Ocean to the mountains in Colorado, in the middle of the country. So that's what we've got going on with this front. And it's kind of nice to have a warm front. It'll help warm things up as it moves out and goes east, because all the people that are freezing back east from last week's cold storm, you know, they could use a bit of a break. So let me hit the brakes here. Oh yeah, I got lots of brakes so far. And what typically happens, and I think this is supposed to move out tonight or tomorrow. What typically happens is we get followed up with a lot colder weather, freezes everything in place. And so it's going to be kind of miserable for the next few days, because we have all this snow that's turned into, you know, slushy stuff that is turning into ice that is going to get stuck. In fact, I've got on my little concrete drive, which is supposed to be a garage. Thank you, Joe Biden, for screwing the economy up so much. Well, what does an interloper do? You know, they're up to no good. Anyway, for screwing the economy up so much that I wasn't able to put a garage. Well, I wasn't able to get good prices on materials, and I need good prices. I'm not a wealthy guy. So anyway, that water that was on that cement pad last night when I pulled in is now slushy, and I was leaving footprints in it, and it was about a half to 3/4 of an inch deep. And that's how much rain we've got. by the way. We've gotten probably, I say a half to 3/4 of an inch. I mean, that's what I've got on the deck out there, or on my concrete pad. And it's building up into a nice big thick slab of ice. And I have to work, so I can't really shovel it off. We'll just have to see what the weather does. If the weather cooperates with me, I'll probably try to shovel it off later on today when I get done with this. Tonight, actually. We've got a long day. If the weather doesn't cooperate, I'll just say to hell with it. Well, not only that, but I don't know that I can even get up the alley right now. The alley is really messed up. So that's just, when you get a thaw like this, it's really an annoying thing. And then we've got rain yesterday evening, apparently all night. We had rain, and it was just starting to turn into snow this morning as I was getting ready to leave. So it just turns that snow into slush, and when you're on slush and ice, you don't have a lot of traction. So I was having a hell of a time just getting down the alley, and this has got great tires. It was at 4-wheel drive, and you could tell that my neighbor was having a heck of a time getting down the alley too. So, might have to. Now, if the alley freezes up, then we'll be okay. If the alley stays slushy, then we won't. I may not be able to get back up it today. In fact, I probably won't even try if it's warm. I may have to go shovel my alley. I used to have a skid steer, which would work nicely for a situation like this, but even a skid steer will get stuck in that slushy, mucky stuff. So, yeah. And then the city comes, and they'll occasionally plow the alley, but they can't really get a big machine up there very easily. So they usually take a pickup truck with a plow, and believe me, I can shovel better than they can plow with a rig like that, So when they're done, it usually messes the alley up worse. In fact, they were up there one time this year. Somebody probably called them up that uses the alley that doesn't understand that every time the city comes and plows the alley, it makes it a disaster. Now, they might understand now, but I don't think they did. And I have someone in mind who probably called. And I understand why. You think that they're going to plow it and it's going to be usable, Foolish thoughts. Foolish thoughts. When you know better, that is a foolish thought. But, yeah. I can't imagine this is going to be much of a scenic drive today, but I've got the battery power, and I have the storage power, and I thought, why not just go ahead and run the camera there? We might catch some interesting stuff. Who knows? I hope not, really, quite honestly, because if it's interesting, it's probably going to be bad. Today's target is Kremling, and I have several routes I could take to get to Kremling. Obviously, this weather is going to weight which route would be better or worse, considering that Rabbit Ears is probably the highest and most northernmost route, and has probably gotten dumped on all night. And so, I mean, that would be the first route. I actually think it's well, Google Maps says it's the lowest miles, but I don't quite believe that. Then the second route, which is apparently like, I think about 6 miles more. That's what, well, if it's more, it's probably about that. I believe that route, which would be Gore Pass, on a day like today, I would hesitate, but I would choose Gore Pass over Rabbit Ears Pass most of the time. Kind of want to back off of these vehicles. I'm in no hurry. I don't see any point. I'm going about 50, 55 on this stuff. That's pretty good. These people aren't doing bad. I don't feel like I need to pass them, although they are now slowing down. But you might notice that the slush is building up on the roadway a little bit. So we are going up a river valley. The Yampa River is over there hiding under all those cottonwood trees that are off in the distance to the right. Just in case you don't know, we are heading mainly east. Yeah, we picked up a little bit more. Picked up a little bit more junk on the windshield too. Anyway, we're heading east, up river, so we're gaining in altitude a tiny bit, and we're also getting closer and closer to Steamboat, where a lot of the cold fronts that come in here sort of compress up against that mountain ridge, or probably more accurately, the weather that mountain ridge creates probably creates an air break for. Anyway, they get a lot of snow, so we're going to see more snow. So for those reasons, I do not want to go up Rabbit Ears and over the top of Rabbit Ears today. It might be less windy today, but down here it can be very calm, and up on Rabbit Ears it can be blowing a gale. So I could go Gore Pass, and might go Gore Pass. So we'll just look at the conditions. It's about the second highest. I think it's 9,000 something at the summit, but it seems to get a little break from the wind, and it seems like it doesn't get quite as much snow, so I usually prefer it. Over Rabbit Ears. However, there's another alternative which I really like. The trade-off is that it's a little bit further. It's about 12 more miles. But I'm doing roughly a 250 mile trip today. So 12 miles isn't all that much. And if I can avoid, getting into some real nasty weather and whiteout conditions, that's definitely worth 12 miles for me. And if I make my appointment and get my job done, then my employer will be satisfied. So there's less risk at this point in time. I think there's less risk of doing the Gore Canyon route. Although it's longer, it could be kind of muddy. I'll have to look at the dirt roads. But yeah, we're slushing up here pretty good. But we're still, you can see that car's throwing a lot of water. Well, I can see that. Yeah. I find it interesting that people will get right on somebody's ass when the conditions are like this. I understand it when you're passing, but I certainly don't understand it when you're just following. Get on somebody's ass. Like if I get like 3 or 4 car lengths behind that car in front of us, my windshield's going to just get incredibly dirty. And the stuff that car is throwing up into the air is a lot dirtier than the stuff that's falling out of the sky. So if I can minimize the amount of junk that other cars throw on my windshield, I can keep a cleaner windshield. And considering that I'm pointing a camera lens through my windshield, you might think that I'm a little bit obsessive about trying to keep a clean windshield, which I am. And for today's trip, because I'm not going to go over Rabbit Ears Pass, I don't have to go through Steamboat. That makes me happy. I don't like going through Steamboat. Steamboats, and I've said it before, it's a lot of fun if you're there to ski and have fun and you're hanging out, and it's your big vacation. It's a very cool place. I mean, the skiing is probably one of the best ski areas in Colorado. As far as snow quality, it's going to be awesome. Now, with this warm weather we're having, that's going to, that's going to temporarily affect the quality of the snow. Or maybe what I should say is it might affect the quality of the snow. So, it's still going to be fun. Going to be fun. I want to look at see what the condition of dirt roads are up here. Because I can further sublet this route into different routes. Even in the winter, I want to turn here. So this road will take us up by the airport. And I do typically like to go by the airport. And the roads that go near the airport are usually shortcuts around the turn off the 20-mile road, which is where we are eventually heading. We want to get on 20-mile road. 20-mile road, oh, check it out. Oh, I love seeing that. Cool. Are you United? And I love catching random, that's not a random event, by the way, but I'm using the term the way random should be used. Events that are random in my mind because they're just, I didn't orchestrate or know about them. And I'm just calling them random because that's shorthand for who knows. I've mentioned that I've worked here before. I really enjoy working at the airport. I should explain my philosophy about this work. I'll do any damn kind of work, but it has to have some redeeming quality to it. And working at an airport, well, I worked in security the first year that I worked here, and I did not like security because I am, well, I'm not the type of person that can stare at a computer screen and try to make out the shape of a bomb much longer than maybe 5 minutes at a time before I lose my interest in trying to see a bomb. My mind will wander. And so that's kind of a big deal. Now, that was with an old style X-ray machine. I have a feeling that new X-ray machines will actually, the machine learning part of it, a machine can do it a lot better than a person can. So I could probably oversee the machine. I'm definitely more inclined to understand why the machine isn't working, or to check the parameters of the machine, than I am to try to pick out what could be a bomb in a suitcase. So I didn't like that. And in fact, when I was working there, and even though this is Hayden, not known for a large amount of terrorist activity, the lady that ran the security back when I was working, she took it seriously. She didn't mess around. And you know what? That's a good thing. It's a good thing to take your job seriously. And so I appreciated her for that. I don't know if she's even part of that anymore, but she was a nice lady, So, oh yeah, these look pretty good. I usually turn right right there, but I would rather not today. I just want to see what this road looks like, because there are some dirt roads which are better to go on in conditions like this. As long as they're not, as long as they've not turned into slop. And this road's holding up pretty good, so that tells me which way I want to go. All right, so yeah, so I know my route. Well, tentatively. Anyway, back to that story. So I was being tested one day, and the way that they would test you is they would you'd just be doing your job, and she would get someone else to put the fake bomb in the, on the radar trolley. Let's call it a trolley conveyor or whatever. And so they did that, and I saw it, and it sparked some recognition, but I was like kind of looking at it, and then someone said, "Oh, what's?" And they actually cued me into it. It's like, "Oh, bomb!" And so I stopped it. I stopped the machine. So we got what looks to be a suspicious item here, but someone cued me in. That was a cheat, because if that person hadn't cued me in, I don't know if I would have caught it. I might have caught it, but I may not have caught it. And so when I thought about that and thought, I understand where my strengths and weaknesses are, and I don't want to do that. So I didn't do security the next year, but I still wanted to be out at the airport. At the time, my sister and I were locating cable for the local U.S. West. At the time it was U.S. West. And we ended up also locating electric lines for Yampa Valley Electric, the local electric company. And in the winter, we would get, job attached laid off, right? Because there's just not much going on around here in the winter where you really need to do a locate. And so, yeah, this is not a great road today. And so anyway, that's what allowed me to do the airport job in the winter. But I also have always worked for myself in some capacity, at the very least as a contractor of some type. And I love doing that. And also designing different things. I've designed furniture, I've designed lighting, I've designed musical instruments, and probably other things I've just forgotten about. But I've been lucky enough to be able to make a living doing that. And I like the whole process. I like to be able to conceive of this interesting thing, then build it and sell it. Design it, build it, test it, and sell it. That's really a cool thing to do. And although you probably have no idea, you have probably seen some of my lighting. Because my little company that I started later on, we've shipped lighting to 49 of the 50 states. And maybe even 50 states, but that one state would be Montana, that I'm not sure about. So I feel real privileged to be able to have done that and to have made my living doing that. and it's made me an okay living. I mean, I'm not a person that needs a lot of money. So amazingly enough, I haven't got a lot of money, but I got enough to do what I needed to do, build my own house. But the point is that I'll do any job. I don't really care. And so for those people who think menial labor is menial, well, that's the way you look at your job. Sometimes it is menial, though. I mean, there are things that are just, it's menial. And a lot of those jobs are jobs that a robot does nowadays. And it makes sense, because really people, even the least talented people are able to do more than what some of these menial jobs were requiring of them. And it's kind of an annoying thing to go to a job where you're being extremely underutilized. But then again, if the job is paying your bills, that's great. And most of us have bills. Most of us, other than college kids that can fly around the world and attend Black Lives Matter events and attend global warming panic events, most people have to work. And that includes black people and white people and, all of us. Or as the leftists would say, us white supremacists. And when I say that, you know what I mean. Anybody who doesn't agree with the left, no matter their race, no matter their sex, they are white supremacists. That's just what they're labeled, and that's what they are. Let me say this too. I'm just jumping off onto different things today. I spent 3 days downloading the very first video for this channel. It took me 3 days to get the damn thing downloaded. But it's also an over 2 hour video, and it's quite large. And I want the resolution and I want the video quality to be extremely good, because the idea I like to cut this corner a little bit. Sadly today I can't tell where it's at, so I don't know if I cut it or not. So I feel a little unfulfilled. But anyway, so before I left, I clicked on the video just to see what kind of quality I had, and I'll be darned, it's really good quality. And YouTube hadn't shut it down. And I am stating my opinion about things, and my opinion is definitely conservative. There is no leftist tint into any of my opinions, which puts me in direct, it puts me in harm's way, I suppose you would say, with YouTube, because we all know that YouTube is a leftist organization, taken over by leftists, ran by leftists, pushing the leftist message, and but I was able to see my video today. I didn't watch the whole thing, obviously, a 2 hour video. I had work to do. I just made sure that the video quality was up to the standard I wanted to see it, and it was pretty close. I couldn't complain. I don't think it was the highest resolution. I think that it was 2180 rather than. I'm getting these numbers wrong. I haven't seen these numbers enough to memorize them. But this camera films in UHD. It's 3840, I think, by 2180. I think that YouTube put it in the second step, or next step down, resolution-wise. But that didn't really hurt the video quality very much. And more importantly, I'm going to turn my lights on. more importantly, the color and the artifacts that you can sometimes see on a video, where like if you see like a solid blue sky, and you can sort of see layers or thick patches of different blue, and you can see pixelated squares, and you know there's a lot of junk you can see. It is that I didn't want to see. I didn't see it, so but the point of this is that YouTube, so my channel is up, and not that anyone is going to see it. It could be immediately blacklisted, who knows? And for that matter, it's not monetized either. And my other channel is monetized, it's been up for years, and I've had probably 3 million views of all the videos that I've done on that channel, but they've shadow banned me on that channel. But that channel is building stuff, you know. This channel is driving in it, so it ended up that this is what I've got. So these near whiteout conditions, that helps a little bit. I put my polarized sunglasses on, and that helps just a little bit. Okay, yeah, that's better. I can see the center line a little bit. So from Hayden, we've gone about maybe 300 or 400 feet up in elevation to this point, and you can see what a difference that made. And that's why I'm not too interested in going over Rabbit Ears Pass today. And shifting gears again, another thing that I do in weather like this, I'm doing about 45 miles an hour. But I've taken out my overdrive. The reason that I've done that is because I want the engine RPMs up, so that when I take my foot off the gas, the engine is starved for fuel, and the RPMs will slow the car down. You know, the engine slowing down because it can't get fuel will better slow the car down when the RPMs are higher, you know, when it's like in a working range. If I had it in overdrive and I took my foot off the pedal, well, I've got a leverage ratio deficiency at that point, because I'm in a higher gear, so I don't have as much strength to hold the car back with the engine. And there's also more of a lag time. And I really, again, this is one of those things about this car that I really like. It's such a cool little car to drive in these conditions. At the same time, in summer conditions, summer driving, this is a really annoying car to drive. And you may notice that if this video becomes something, you may notice it on my channel. I have a picture, you know, with the icon of the channel. It's a Suzuki Samurai that I bought about 10, 12 years ago, and repainted. And I turned it into a better off-road vehicle, but I didn't turn it into like a rock crawler or some, in my opinion, a really limited use vehicle. I can drive the thing around town. I can drive it out into hills if I want to, but it suffers from extremely weak little engine. It's got the engine's about 50 horsepower, So what would that be, like about 35 kilowatts? Not much. And I don't like to slow people down. So when I do drive it, the very rare times I drive it on a highway where I have to go over like 50 miles an hour, I usually spend a lot of my time pulling over into the median or whatever, whatever I can to allow people to get around me, because I really hate to slow people down. And that vehicle will do it. I do have a diesel engine, a big diesel engine. Well, a big, for that little car, it's a 1.9 liter turbo diesel, an old Volkswagen engine that is, it's an acclaimed engine. It's an AAZ or an AZZ. I think it's AAZ. AZZ? One or the other. It's a sought after engine, even though our government's monkeying around with diesel prices. Yeah, it would still be a great addition to that little car. But I don't know that I want to put it in that little car. I also have a Jeep Cherokee, an XJ. I guess is all the trendy people say. I think people are scared of using the word Cherokee on YouTube, because I see very few people actually call their Jeep Cherokee a Cherokee. And I don't know that Cherokee Indians are unhappy about Jeep using the term Cherokee to describe something. It's actually in quite flattering terms they're describing this vehicle in. And they're comparing it to the prowess of these Indians. I mean, that's the idea, right? These Indians back in the day, were able to, navigate the countryside or whatever, what Jeep can do. Jeep can, it's a good thing and not a bad thing. So, but I notice that. And on days when I have to drive slow and pay attention to the road, things like that pop into my head. And we're dropping down into a little valley, and we're in Routt County. Just want to point that out. And we're going to go around the corner, and we're going to see a glorious underground coal mine. It's called 20 Mile. And you've heard that term before, because this is 20 Mile Road. So I've worked out here too. I've talked about that before. Whether that's that God edited it or didn't, I don't know. It's quite a mine. We've been driving over the mine for a few miles now. I mean, obviously the mine is down below us, but the mine veers out. I mean, it goes in a lot of different directions. There is a lot. Uh-oh, got a dude stuck down here. Oh, maybe, yeah, he's stuck. Looks like that loader's stuck. You didn't see that, but down on the mine side, it looked like a loader was stuck, and it was a maintainer maybe came to pull him out. Plowing snow. When we first moved up to this part of Colorado, when you drive through here, there was a big house here. It was a big, I think it was a popular thing to do back in the day. Well, in the 70s maybe. It was a 70s style, almost looked like a ski lodge kind of a style. But it was the mine headquarters, and it was an administration building. And I'm not sure why they tore all that down, but it's gone now. Now they do training there. Sometimes I see them do training throughout the year. but it doesn't, yeah, I don't know why they tore that building down. And while I was working for Colorado, I never really even thought to ask, or not Colorado, while I was working for 20 Mile, I never thought to ask why. All right, I've got a choice here. 20 Mile is an interesting road. Once you get about a half a mile further, we'll turn roughly south and head up a hill, and we'll go over a little pass, drop down into a valley, go up another pass, drop into another valley, go up another pass, and then drop down into Oak Creek. But I'm not sure that I want to do that. I mean, the roads are pretty, well, treacherous is probably not the right term, but they're steep and windy, and I am wondering if I might benefit by going another route. So there is another route. But I'm looking at what the cloud here. No. You know, they've only plowed half this road, so I'm gonna say to this experiment, no. I'm doing a multiple point turn so that I don't get off in the unplowed section. Can you see that? I mean, so I've had a maintainer, or a truck has plowed this side of the road, but that side of the road looks like crap. And I don't feel like navigating that. So I just assumed that maybe there was a drift right here, but it looks to me like they just haven't gotten around to getting that road plowed. And I know they got 20 Mile taken care of, and they've got gravel on it, so that's great. So, all right, we're going to do the three passes. Three famous passes on 20 Mile Road that connects Oak Creek, Colorado to Hayden, Colorado. Really, probably one of the most dangerous things about winter driving is when you can't find the road and you have to, like we just did, I just passed two vehicles. If I don't have some reasonable sense of where the road is, and the other person doesn't have a reasonable sense of where the road is, then we could get into trouble where we could either have a head-on collision, which would be extremely rare, or one of us will drive off into the shoulder. And I don't know if you noticed, but I can see a bit of a berm where the road has been plowed to. That's where the edge of the blade has made that little line all the way over to the right. However, if I were to drive all the way over to that berm, I'm probably going to be driving off the shoulder onto grass. And it could be steep over there. So I have to really be careful about doing that. I've got to be mindful that that blade reaches a lot further out from that truck. So the truck's wheels, they could be, 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 feet even in from the edge where that blade pushed it. And they do that, they push it out there so that there's room for more snow to be pushed out there. So there's a good reason to do it. But you don't want to drive out there and get stuck in something, get sucked off the road. You also don't want to crowd, the oncoming traffic off the road, where they would end up doing the same thing. It's pretty white here. So one year, this is starting to remind me of that year. What's this guy doing? Going? Get around you, my friend. Yeah, it kind of sucks. I don't think he can see the road very well. Maybe he can follow me. Because I can see the road reasonably well. Yeah. If he wants to follow me, he can. But now we're to the point where I need to see delineator poles. To know where the edge is. So he's coming on behind me. He was just having a hell of a time seeing. It was bad down in that valley too. I mean, just the whiteout factor was pretty nasty. Which is one of the reasons that I'm running the camera today, so that you can see. If you're not from a winter area, you can kind of get an idea of a winter area, what it's like to drive here. I do also want to make sure that I stay on the road and that I don't, that I stay on the road, yes, get my job done, yes. So I would have liked to go that other route because we didn't have one. Well, it's a pass. We had one hill to climb, and it's not nearly as steep as any of these hills. But you saw how much snow was on the side of the road. What would have happened is if that person had just started plowing, I would probably end up getting behind that person and then being dependent on following that person, depending on how much snow there is up here. And it feels like there's and at this point, it looks like there's maybe an inch or two on the road right now. And by the way, this can be a pretty damn steep road up here. When you see this, when you can see it, you don't want to go off the side of this road. That would be a bad thing, so to speak. All right, so okay. I may have to do something with my windshield wipers. Are sounding like they're building up, getting ice on my wipers. Oh, I know what to do. I had some heat in my window. Let's try that. So one year, I was running sound for a band. I was in the band as a different band, but I was running sound with it. Hey, whatever. You know, when we're in a small area and you play music, you end up being in several different bands, I guess. So anyway, so we're heading to Oak Creek to play, and we get, I think it was about right here, which is probably what made me think of the heat on that windshield, which made me think of the story. And the guitar player for the band, we'll call him Phil, he drove off right in this area, right into the, into the berm and stuck. So there are some people that live right down the road, right around the corner here, and they're moving it, and they helped him get back on the road. They pulled him out and got him back on the road, and so we continued on, went to Oak Creek, set up, played music, and those guys showed up, and I think the way the story went was that, how did it go? It was like Phil ignored them, or maybe didn't know they were there or something, and so they got ignored. And so I believe that one of the other band members actually, thanked them, and they may have given them money or bought them drinks or something, but I just remember the story because Phil was unaware of what, I mean, he appeared to be unaware of what these people had done for him. So, but maybe not, maybe he was, because he's not a bad guy. I like Phil. And if he ever hears this story, well, maybe he can clear up some of the details. I've never asked him about it, but I've never really thought about it when I saw him last week too. So anyway. So now I have my car in second gear, and I got the RPMs up pretty high so that I have good power. What I'm really trying to do is I want to be able to apply my power lightly, so that if I'm in a lower gear and I've got my RPMs up, I can lightly step on the gas pedal, like I just did, and I can carefully add torque to the drivetrain. The reason that I want to carefully do that is so that I don't lose traction. And I have a feeling that the road is really pretty decent. It just looks worse than it is because it's so hard to see. I mean, you're losing all your visual cues of where the road is and so forth. But when the road is really slippery, you really don't want to lose traction. And when you're going uphill, you really don't want to lose traction. And if you're in a truck and you're going uphill and you lose traction, you're done. You know, I've never recovered going up a hill in a truck losing traction, and I've been there and done it. So, but that's the same kind of technique that you can use in a car. Now, when I slow down, I just take my foot off the gas, and my engine slows me down really smoothly, slows the whole car down, because the engine RPMs are dragging this vehicle speed down. And I've got it in that lower gear. So I have a lot more control over what I'm doing, and I can apply it much more gently. Yeah, that's probably the best way to put it, which is why I'm doing this. In the winter, the first thing I'll do is take my foot off the gas and see if I can get slow enough for the obstacle or whatever it is I need to slow down. If I can't, then I'll start pumping the brakes carefully. And the ultimate good situation is to never be in a situation where you have to touch the brakes, where you have to pump the brakes. There will be situations where you have to use the brakes, where your engine speed will get you so far, it will slow you down so far, then you're basically at an idle and you're still moving, you need to use your brakes. But you still have all the upside of being able to really gently speed up and gently slow down. And that's the key in snow and ice. You want to do everything really gently, really careful. See, I left the gas here because I've got a pretty steep, sharp corner, and the car just slows down to the appropriate speed. And we're now on top of the, this is I think our third pass. So I think we're coming down into Hope Creek next. Yeah. Yeah, that helped the windshield. So like right now, I'm kind of pumping the brakes. This is a pretty steep corner. I wanted a little bit less speed going into it. I think the road's pretty good, but you know what? I don't really want to get stuck. I don't want to find out that the road was slick. It's been graveled. I think that's probably bottom ash that they use. A soft form of, it's like tuff, volcanic tuff, or lava, lava rock, lava soap that used to have. Pumice, yeah, that's it. That's the stuff. So yeah, this is pretty good. It's slippery, but the rocks really do help. I'm doing 28 to 30 miles an hour down here. I got good visibility. I like that. So, and I am in second gear, so that I've got real good control over my speed right now. And I'll just leave it in second gear all the way down, because that'll help me negotiate these corners the right speed. Yeah, loving it. Freaking good. I guess while we're talking about driving, another thing that I do, and I do it because I'm really a genuinely friendly person, unless you're a leftist and you're being, you will probably I'll probably not be as friendly to you as I would to others. But if you're a leftist, I would still pull you out of it, you know. But I would just say, well, you're a stupid leftist, and that's probably why you got stuck, or something like that. But I would still pull you out. I think it's pretty important, though, to make eye contact with people in weather like this when you can, wave at them, because you never know when you're going to go off the road in 50 feet, or they're going to go off the road, or you don't know when you're going to need a friend. And if you're unfriendly to people, people are going to be less likely to want to help you. But if you're friendly to people, they're going to be more likely. I mean, you don't know. Obviously, people are people, and we're all different. But generally, people that you're friendly with have got a better opinion of you than people that you're unfriendly with. For instance, that mythical leftist that I pulled out. You know, if I was nice to that leftist would probably not hate me quite as much. I wouldn't hate the leftist quite as much. Hate's really the term to use. I don't think so, but who knows? So we are off 20 Mile. I'm getting hot in here. We are now in Oak Creek. Cute girl. Yeah, I notice cute girls. I'm not so old that I don't notice the cute babes. The babes, yeah. Oh, and I need to go here. And let's see if they've got any cream, because I want some cream, and I'll clean the windshield. Okay. We'll get back to you.